Welcome back to Better Everyday Studio. I'm Elena. Before we dive in today, I want you to think about something. Think about the last book you read, the last course you finished, the last video you watched to learn something new. Now, without checking, without scrolling back, how much of it can you actually recall right now? If you're hesitating, you're not alone. And more importantly, it's not your fault. Because the way most of us were taught to study, it's broken. Fundamentally, scientifically, provably broken. Today, we're gonna fix that. Let me paint you a picture. It's late evening. You've got your notes open. Maybe a textbook. Maybe a course on your laptop. You've been at this for 2, maybe 3 hours. You're highlighting. You're rereading. You're nodding along because it all makes sense when you see it. You feel productive. You feel like you're putting in the work. Then the next day comes, or the week after. Someone asks you about what you learned, a colleague, a friend, maybe just yourself, and your mind goes completely blank. Sound familiar? Here's what's actually happening. Psychologists call it the illusion of competence. When information looks familiar, when you've seen it before, when it makes sense as you read it, your brain sends a false signal. A false I know this alarm. But recognition is not the same as knowledge. Recognizing something is easy. Retrieving it when you actually need it, that's the whole game. And passive studying, rereading, highlighting, watching videos back to back trains you to recognize, not to retrieve. It's like watching someone else work out at the gym and thinking your muscles are getting stronger. You're putting in the hours, but you're not building the strength. So why does this happen? Why do we forget so much of what we learn? Back in the 1880s, a German psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus ran a series of experiments on himself. He memorized lists of nonsense syllables, completely meaningless combinations of letters, and then measured how quickly he forgot them. What he discovered changed everything we understand about memory. He called it the forgetting curve. Without any reinforcement, without reviewing, we forget roughly 70% of new information within 24 hours. Within a week, nearly 90% is gone. Think about that for a second. You could spend 3 hours studying today, and by next Monday, 9/10 of it has vanished. But here's where it gets interesting. Ebbinghaus also discovered something about how to fight back against that curve. Every single time you retrieve a piece of information, every time, you force your brain to pull it back up from memory, the curve resets and flattens. The memory becomes stronger. It requires less effort to hold on to. And eventually, it becomes permanent. The problem is, rereading doesn't trigger that reset. Only active retrieval does. Now, here's what Ebbinghaus couldn't tell us, because the technology didn't exist yet. The real consolidation of memory happens while you sleep. During deep sleep, your brain replays the day's memories, strengthening some, discarding others. It's like your brain is filing away everything you learned while you were awake. Here's the number. Sleep less than 6 hours, and your memory consolidation efficiency drops by 30%. Pulling an all-nighter before an exam? You're not gaining hours. You're blocking the very process that creates permanent memory. And if you're drinking coffee to stay awake, caffeine has a half-life of 5 hours. Drink it too late, and you'll be too chemically alert to reach the deep sleep your brain needs. The rule I follow now: stop caffeine 8 hours before bed. Then there's exercise. It increases something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it as protein powder for your hippocampus. The target is 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week, just over 20 minutes a day. Do that, and you boost BDNF by 20%. This is the foundation. Study techniques matter, but they run on biological hardware. If your hardware is broken, the best software in the world won't save you. So what does this look like when someone actually gets it right? A few years ago, a Japanese doctor named Dr. Yasukawa Kosuke did something that most people in the medical world considered almost impossible. He decided to take 2 of the hardest medical licensing exams in the world at the same time. The Japanese medical licensing exam and the United States medical licensing examination, the USMLE, entirely in English. His second language. The USMLE is brutal. The passing score is 182 out of 300. The global average is 215. These are doctors, career professionals, native English speakers. Dr. Yasukawa scored 263, top 1% in the world. And then he wrote a book called The Science of Addictive Learning, explaining exactly how he did it. Not through natural genius, not through some superhuman memory, but through a precise, repeatable learning system, one that works directly with how the brain is wired to retain information. That system is what we're talking about today. The addictive learning method comes down to one foundational shift. Stop putting information in, start pulling information out. That's it. That's the whole philosophy. Everything else is just the system around that idea. Here are the 4 steps. They're simple, they're uncomfortable at first, and they work. Step 1. The blank sheet method. After you finish a chapter, a lesson, a lecture, anything, close it. Put it away. Take a completely blank piece of paper and write down everything you remember. No peeking, no checking, just output. Whatever comes out is what your brain actually stored. Whatever's missing, those gaps, that's your real study list. Not the stuff you already know, the stuff you can't yet retrieve. Most people study what they already know because it feels comfortable. The blank sheet forces you to study what you actually need. Use a red pen when you check your work. Research shows the color red increases attention to detail. Plus, it makes your gaps impossible to ignore. Step 2. Spaced repetition. Don't cram. Space it out. Review after 1 day, then 3 days later, then 1 week, then 2 weeks. The optimal time to review is when you're about to forget, roughly when your recall drops to 85%. Too soon, and you're wasting effort. Too late, and you're relearning from scratch. Each review resets the forgetting curve. The memory gets stronger. Dr. Yasukawa calls this continuous relearning, active recall plus spaced repetition. It's the engine of the whole system. Step 3. Interleaving. Once you're retrieving information effectively, the next challenge is knowing when to use it. Instead of practicing one type of problem for an hour, mix them up randomly. If you're studying math, mix algebra, geometry, and statistics. If you're learning a language, mix vocabulary, grammar, and listening. Why does this work? Because blocking creates a crutch. You know what type of problem you're solving before you even read it. Interleaving forces your brain to diagnose first, then solve. That's the skill you actually need in real life. Step 4. The teaching method. Explain what you just learned out loud. To yourself. To a friend. To anyone. Richard Feynman, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century, used this as his primary learning tool. His rule was simple. If you can't explain something in plain language, you don't actually understand it yet. The moment you try to teach something, every gap in your knowledge becomes immediately obvious. That's not failure. That's the most valuable feedback your brain can give you. I want to be honest with you for a second. When I first came across this method, I was skeptical. I'd spent years being a good student by traditional standards. I took notes. I reviewed them. I felt prepared. But I kept noticing the same pattern. I'd finish learning something, feel confident, and then a few weeks later, when it actually mattered, I'd reach for that knowledge and come up with almost nothing. The first time I tried the blank sheet method after reading a book, I'd just finished Atomic Habits. Felt like I understood everything. I could only write down 3 habits. 3 out of an entire book. I was embarrassed, but the next day, I tried again. More came out. The day after that, even more. That gap on day 1, that frustrating, humbling emptiness, that was my brain actually learning. Not the hours I'd spent reading, the minutes I'd spent struggling to recall. It changed how I think about effort. Real effort isn't the time you put in. Real effort is the resistance you push against. Here's why this creates addiction. Every other study method gives you the feeling of progress. The highlighting, the rereading, the full notebooks. But when you test yourself and fail, it feels discouraging, like you haven't learned anything. The addictive learning method flips that completely. The struggle is the progress. The discomfort of retrieval is your neurons building stronger connections. You can literally feel your brain working in a way that passive study never produces. And the moment you answer a question you couldn't answer yesterday, that feeling, that's the addiction. That's what keeps you coming back. So here's how to actually start. Today, not someday. Today, pick one thing you want to learn. Or something you learned recently. A book, a podcast, even this episode. After it's done, give yourself 5 minutes, grab whatever you have. Your phone notes, a scrap of paper, a napkin, it doesn't matter. And write down everything you remember. Don't judge what comes out. Don't stress about what's missing. Just let your brain output what it stored. That is your first session of addictive learning. 5 minutes. No special app. No subscription. No setup. If you want to go deeper, build the spaced repetition habit. Set a reminder for tomorrow. Review for 5 minutes. Set another reminder for 3 days from now. 5 minutes again. If you prefer digital tools, apps like Anki or Quizlet handle the scheduling automatically. But honestly, a stack of index cards works just as well. The method matters more than the medium. And remember the foundation. Sleep 7 hours, cut caffeine 8 hours before bed, move your body 20 minutes a day. The best techniques in the world won't work on a broken machine. Before I let you go, I have one challenge for you. Right now, close your eyes if you want to. Tell me, what are the 4 steps of the addictive learning method? No scrolling back. No rewinding. Just what you remember. Drop your answer in the comments below. Because that right there, that attempt to recall, that is the method. You've already started. Learning isn't about how many hours you put in. It's about what your brain can actually do when you need it. And every single day, you have the chance to get a little bit better at that. That's what this channel is about. That's what we're building here, together. If this episode gave you even one shift in how you think about learning, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find the show. Subscribe to Better Everyday Studio because growth isn't an event. It's a daily practice. And if you're feeling generous, leave a rating or review. It tells me what's working and what you want more of. Thanks for spending time with me today. I'm Elena, and this is Better Everyday Studio. Let's get a little better tomorrow. Okay, I definitely talked a lot about forgetting things today, but honestly, this method changed how I learn. I hope it changes things for you too. See you next time. Bye.